Home so long. Am I in the house alone? Hope everybody's feeling good. Just coming off a very restful afternoon and morning, I can say. It's very refreshing. So, with no further ado, I am Achoti Speaks, also known as Achoti Tamor, and welcome to this live show. And we're going to deal with the topic of reparations. I ran across this article that I thought was quite interesting, and as a matter of fact, there were several articles and videos that I had an opportunity to review last week. And I thought it would be important that try to get the community's take on their opinions, their comments on the UN being, I guess, told that it's time for them to hold a tribunal and hold the United States corporation um, accountable for slavery in the form of reparations. As we go throughout the show tonight, we're going to hear the reasons why Mr. Justin, I believe his name, Justin Hansford, a Howard University professor and newly appointed member of the United Nations Permanent Forum on People of African Descent. He's going to pretty much uh, tell you in the video that you know it's time for the all these nations to pay up in the form of reparations, and he pretty much says spoiler alert that we're not gonna allow you all and i.e. the oppressors, the colonizers, to tell us um, how those reparations will look like. We're going to tell you, we're going to submit to you, and you're going to act. Tribunals will be held. Right, a tribunal. They're asking the UN to hold a tribunal, I should say, and so without further ado, I want to go straight to that article where it says that the gentleman asks for $5 million to be paid to every African American um, that were descendants of slaves. And I thought that it sounded pretty powerful. Um, I'm sure that we can count countless facts as to why they should give us reparations, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen so that I can read to you all this article. We can read it at the same time, so we won't say I'm making it up. This happened last week, and it was like trying to find a needle in the haystack just to find somebody who wrote on this article. Was just baffling to me. Okay, so here we go. Howard professor asks UN to push U.S. back. I'm sorry. Let me start again. Howard professor asks United Nations to push United States to give Black people 5 million in reparations. This story came out on last Thursday by the Washington Examiner. A Howard University professor led a group of Black academics who are asking the United Nations to push the United States to make $5 million payouts to Black U.S. United States residents a reality. Justin Hansford, a Howard University School of Law professor, was joined by fellow academics from the University of Pittsburgh and Columbia University in his message at the UN Permanent Forum on People of African Descent. Hansford specifically called for a process of apology and reparation, not on the terms, not on their terms, but on our terms, according to the Daily Mail. It says here, I come to you today with a novel proposal that we begin to think our own thoughts, propose our own vision of justice, and implement that justice henceforth during UN racial justice talks in New York City. So Hansford, who is a descendant of slaves in Georgia, argued that these reparation payouts to black United States residents should be assessed on a case-by-case basis, and also stated that for families who have gone through generations of horrific oppression, and the $5 million amount would be on the low end of what's appropriate. Hansford comments come after President Joe Biden spoke at Howard University last month, delivering a commencement speech to graduating students. During his speech, Biden described white supremacy as the most dangerous terrorist threat to our homeland. The city of San Francisco is working on its plan for reparations for black residents in the city, giving $5 million to residents along with personal debt and tax burdens, and guaranteed annual income of at least 97,000 for the next 250 years in several homes in the city for $1 per family. However, San Francisco Mayor London Breed, a Democrat, stated in April that she has no plans to support the plan. I know the committee is still working over the next couple of months to complete the issue to complete and issue the final report, and I look forward to reviewing those recommendations once they are finalized and make it clear in regards to my support at that time, Bree said. So she said that the committee is still working over the next couple of months to complete it. She has no plans to support the plan. But she said, I look forward to reviewing those recommendations once they are finalized and make it clear in regards to my support at that time. Hmm, that's very interesting. So, who's this Howard law professor that decided to go ahead and hold the UN to task? Let's see if we can figure that out. Let's see if we can figure that out, family. Just 1 second. As we see who that will be. I hope everybody out there had a beautiful Saturday where I'm at here in Texas. The skies were partly cloudy, but nice and pleasant, not too hot. It was a good day to get some sunshine, which I did occasionally step outside and got some of that free, what do you call free vitamin D. Yes. So let's find out who this brother is to be able to have the privilege to sit or stand and give some opening remarks and also have closing remarks at the UN's meeting at the in New York, and it was the meeting of the Permanent Forum on People of African Descent. So let's read a little bit about his role and how the United States is their position on, I guess you could say, reparations and their stance on equality and repairing their wrongs that they have committed against what we can say uh, black people, right? So, the previous article mentioned Biden, the Biden administration. So here is, make sure I am sharing my screen here. So here is why Mr. Justin Hansford is important. And why am I talking about this in regards to reparations? Okay, so let's read together who he is. And this was done in December 17, 2021. The election of Justin Hansford to the Permanent Forum on People of African Descent. This comes from the U.S. Department of State. Hold on, family. I need to take this call. Give me 1 second. All right, I'm back. Sorry about that, family. So yeah, we were reading about Mr. Justin Hansford. Okay, let's get back to it. So Mr. Justin Hansford. It says here, I congratulate Howard University Professor Justin Hansford on his election to serve on the UN Permanent Forum on People of African Descent for the 2022 through the 2024 term. The United States has made advancing racial justice a top priority. We strongly supported the establishment of the PFPAD to improve the quality of life and the livelihoods of African descent people globally. Professor Justin Hansford is a leading scholar and activist in the fields of racial justice, human rights, and law, and social movements. He is also the founder and executive director of the Thurgood Marshall Civil Rights Center at Howard University School of Law. I am confident Professor Hansford will help the PFPAD fulfill its important mission to contribute to the full economic, political, and social equity and inclusion of American descendants people worldwide. Okay, so this particular individual, and let's get his picture up. Let's see, which one of these tabs has the brother's picture? Well, let's just go ahead and let's hear him speak. on his opening remarks. Just pay attention. And by the way, before we do that, I just want to go ahead and say, fair use. Fair use. We are reviewing this video for educational purposes only. Fair use. Fair use. Thank you. Let's continue. Let's get the video started, queued up. Oh, make no doubt about it, my family. We will go ahead and get right down to the bottom
delegates, colleagues, and attendees. Our theme this year, Realizing the Dream, makes a not so subtle reference to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech, delivered 60 years ago this summer. I call it America's most well-known and least well-understood public address. Over the years, it's been distorted, sanitized, and drained of its true radical vision. Despite that, I believe we can now safely say that Dr. King's assertion that the U.S. Constitution was a promissory note, which came back marked insufficient funds for its Negro citizens, was both accurate and ominous. The truth is, Dr. King believed in reparations. He called for it explicitly up until the last speech of his life. The promissory note, the check that he demanded according to the terms of the U.S. Constitution, was never cashed. And it was 60 years ago until today, the wealth gap between African Americans and white Americans remains exactly the same. So 60 years later, it's up to us to now acknowledge him as the visionary he is, because after all of these years, it's now clear, more clear now than ever before, that reparations is what justice looks like in the 21st century. On December 16th, 2005, the UN General Assembly reaffirmed the importance of providing reparations for gross violations of international human rights law by adopting a 5-point legal framework for reparations, and that has become our norm. That includes monetary compensation proportionate to the gravity of the harms done to our people, restitution, which would include repatriation, reconnection with our identity and our culture, satisfaction or repair for moral and ethical and injury to reputation and mental suffering. That includes apologies, memorials, and the ending of cultural genocide. Guarantees of non-repetition, laws to ensure that the continuation of slavery that in the United States we call mass incarceration would begin to stop. Rehabilitation, including mental health support and medical care to address the inequities that we will describe later on this week. But I would like to ask the question, as we link reparations to the other core idea that brought us here together, the idea of self-determination, why is it that our terms of repair are dictated to us by the UN? The same UN that even this morning has such a difficult time letting our people in the front door. The same UN that has such a difficult time finding the funds to allow us, the staff, to even process registrations. The problem is for our people, we must be able to begin to assert the principle that nothing about us without us. Nothing happens about us without us. And that includes here at the UN. In a recent research project, my students at Howard University found that over 90 reparations commissions have been created just in the United States alone since the killing of George Floyd, 40% in local municipalities, 40% in universities, churches, and nonprofits. Even states like the state of California have brought people together. They have come up with programs that include the creation of freedmen's bureaus to give resources to people of African descent, and boards created by Black people to determine their own terms of their reparation. That includes a plan in Evanston, Ohio, to provide reparations based on a record of housing discrimination that took place from 1919 to 1969, systematically extracting wealth from Black communities and creating equity in the pockets of white communities through home ownership. That includes programs that have been happening on the local level all across the country, driven by grassroots citizens. Why can't those grassroots citizens begin to determine their own terms for what reparations should look like? Where's the role of African spirituality? Where's the role of our own cultural icons? When are we going to be able to prize and value some of our own ethical and moral principles as a people, and bring those to our legal analysis? In April of 2022, Harvard University put up a $100 million endowment fund and a report that was also 100 pages, deciding that it was going to give reparations because the university benefited from enslavement. These recommendations for how to use that money included scholarships for students who are already at Howard, and for professors at Black universities to go to lecture at Harvard, benefiting the Harvard students. A similar reparations program was proposed by the Church of England, also for $100 million, where a panel of experts selected by the Church of England itself would decide how to administer this fund, even though it was determined that the Church of England has already been documented to have made $1.3 billion from slavery. So whenever reparations is framed not as justice, not as repair, but as charity, or as a gift, the terms will always be self-serving. It wouldn't make sense for a bank robber to determine how much of the heist he will return, or select a panel of experts to dole out the stolen money according to his own vision of what's fair. So this is perhaps the most appropriate legal question to ponder. Crimes against humanity, governed by the Rome Statute of the International Criminal Court, adopted in 1988, is one perhaps interesting legal concept that we could apply to what happened to our people. Genocide, determined by the Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide, adopted by the General Assembly in 1948, shortly after the Holocaust, is another interesting legal claim that could be brought. But so far, we've left it to the scholars of the past, the lawyers of the past, the white scholars, the white lawyers, to determine the bounds of our legal imagination, to determine the narrow strictures that we will use to determine what justice looks like for our own people. So I come to you today with a novel proposal that we begin to think our own thoughts, propose our own vision of justice, and implement that justice as part of the Permanent Forum on People of African Descent. So I also propose today that we create a new bar association, including lawyers and non-lawyers, to discuss what it means to be repaired in 2023 for crimes that have been done to us and are continuing to be done to us for over 500 years. For over 500 years. So for your consideration, Madam Chair, I propose that today we create a new community of legal thinkers that's not limited to lawyers, but includes anyone who is passionate about justice. And we come together and demand that many of the states in this room that have benefited from the legacy of our oppression start the process of